Hey, this is Jeff Conti, your YouTube knife mentor. I've got a pantograph that I've been using for a few years, and I really like it a lot. When I was young, over 40 years ago, I used to take my knives to a trophy shop, and the nice lady there would engrave my maker's mark and the year and the serial number and that kind of thing on the knife. And I learned one reason why I really prefer that method of marking instead of using like etching and a variety of other methods. So you can see there's the knife, right? And then if you look a little more carefully, the knife catches the light and you can find the engraving. I really like that my knife is basically seen first and the engraving is seen second. That's what I like. Okay. What is a pantograph? A pantograph takes information from your tray or your slot. I can't think of what you call it. I'm just going to call it a tray for now. Anyway, it takes information from here and it puts it over here. And if it's 1 inch here, depending on how you set up your arms, it might be a 1/4 inch down here. I don't have a 1-to-1, so I can't do 1 inch here and 1 inch there, but I do go from 2 to 7, and so a 2 means that it's half. So if it's 1 inch here, it's a 1/2 inch down here. Okay, so that's the basics of how a pantograph works. It just follows my master plate, and it, with a diamond point, it scribes what I want onto my work. My modification is that I have 3 sets of jaws. Come on now. There we go. So this is the original set of jaws right here. And you can see they're plastic. They're a little bit lightweight. They do have numbers on them, so you can do millimeters and inches or whatever. This is basically all millimeters, it looks like. Well, anyway, I don't care because I don't use them anymore. But this lip was just too shallow for me. I needed something a little deeper to hold my knife blades. So now I have about 3/16 of an inch here, and then so that gives me some more bite. But sometimes I needed longer jaws so that I could do a longer plate. And so I made some longer jaws, and I didn't put as deep of a cut in it because I'm just doing these real thin pieces of material. So you can make your own jaws, no problem. I built this one on a milling machine, but I built this one on my table saw. So, you know, they're both micarta. I don't like plastic and wood for this application, but I have lots of micarta, so that's what I'm using. There are extra diamond points, and I bought the ones that I needed so that I would have one for aluminum, one for steel, and one for brass. So I've been using, obviously, for my knife making, the one for steel, but I also have one for brass and one for aluminum. Also, I should say that the one that does steel, it will do everything. Hardened steel, soft steel, doesn't matter. I haven't tried carbide, but this is a diamond, and so my bet is it would cut a carbide. I don't know how long it would last or what kind of damage it would do or not, or how carbide would respond in terms of being engraved, but this will do hardened steel no problem. Okay, so setting up the tiles or the master plates, you can see they can be inserted here and moved wherever you want. Put them all together. You can put blank plates in between. Let's say you're going to have JC as one, and then a space, and then knives, something like that. You can do cursive, which I have over here. Sometimes it's called script or scroll, so it's obviously on its own angle. And the smaller lowercase, they all go from letter to letter. There's no lifting of your cutter when you move between letters, whereas if the block lettering, you will lift the cutter from one spot to the next, and the stylus, they don't flow together. Okay, let's see here. Setting up the knife. let me put my jaw back in. Okay, so you lock your knife blade in the clamp, and then you can rotate it. You can move it on one axis and then the other axis. I kind of want to build in a thimble type of screw adjustment or fine adjustment, because I'm constantly, you know, pushing this around to get it where I want it, and getting the fine adjustment is a little bit tedious, but I don't really care. You can also adjust where your tiles are on your tray. You can adjust the arm, and so this one here, right? You can move it back and forth. You can move the arm on your there, and then you also can move back here. Whoops. So it comes out. Okay, and that all the whole purpose of all of those is to get your engraving where you want it, and the size you want it, and the shape you want it. And you say to yourself, self, I thought you said that we were going to use the script to get that angular curved kind of thing, and then the block to get the straight kind of thing. But look at this. See how the knife is on an angle and the letters are on an angle. Now I had this set up square just like I have it here, but I moved this, the cutter back down to 3.5, sorry. And then I left my main arm at just in front of 2, and I got a smaller curve that's on, the word is on an angle and the letters are on an angle. So it's still block in that you go from letter to letter to letter, but it's not scroll where it flows from letter to letter to letter. Anyway, so you can adjust these to get the effect that you want. Always, did I use the word always? Let me say the word always one more time. Always, yeah, I'll just say it again. Always do a test cut. You can see all of the test cuts that I've done and that help me get. Now you see these parallel lines right here, and they're not parallel with the, some of them aren't parallel to the edge. That's because I was setting up the rotational setting on my setup. I don't know what the word to use. Anyway, I'm not doing so good, but you get the idea. So that I could get my lettering parallel with the top edge of my knife. I didn't want the lettering to go off on an angle somewhere and not look right. So anyway, always do a test cut before you engrave your knife. Once you engrave your knife, it's permanent. I mean, good luck sanding it out of there if you decide you don't like it or something's wrong. So let me say it again. Do a test cut. Okay, then go ahead and engrave your knife. It's once you set it up, you can do multiple knives. Let's say you're going to engrave a half a dozen knives. Other than switching out the number, let's say 107, 108, 109. Other than that, there's no more setup. You just put your knife in, as long as they're the same knife. Just put your knife in and engrave it, and it's just repetitive, so it's very nice. If you do what I did one time, you go from 107 to 107, and you go, oh crap, just put a B in there, so you got a 107, and then you got a 107B. So you still have a different serial number. Just be sure to annotate that in your records. Better yet, do a test cut. And then you'll say, oh, look, it's supposed to be 108, and I still have 107. Ta-da! Anyway, do a test cut. Don't be like Jeffrey. Do a test cut. So I'm going to go over the pros and cons. This is important to me, so it might be important to you. I think I really like pantographs, so I have more pros than I have cons, but there definitely are some cons. So the pros first, I think it's attractive. It's also permanent, by the way. It doesn't come off like the marking of an electrical etcher. The marking doesn't actually go away, but it doesn't look the same over time. It gets the scab on the top of the marking where it picks the material up and puts it back down. It goes away over time, and so you're just left with this, I don't know. I don't like it, so you might like it, enjoy it. but I don't. I told you already, I like to see the knife and then find the engraving. I like that about engraving. It reflects the light a little bit. It's really cool. Nearly endless options. I mean, you can get, if you can get somebody to do master plates for you with a CNC. My video cut off, so I'll just start over. I was talking about nearly any endless options. If you can get somebody to do master plates with a CNC, you know, you can do all kinds of imagery. I like to do crossed arrows and stuff like that. You can do any metal, including hardened steel. That's what I do on my knives, but you can also do brass and aluminum. It's repeatable, so if you're going to go from one kind of knife, the same kind of knife, you're going to just, let's say, do your serial numbering, or you're going to put your maker's mark on them. It's very easy to do. It's very repeatable. You can do angles. I was going to show you this on my Leatherman. If your knife blade is laying down flat, you know, you've got your grind line, and you got your ricasso, and you've got your false grind. You can do all of these lines and no problem. Even a hollow grind, you can engrave, and if you want to engrave on the top, you can engrave that way. So engraving is very easy, I like it a lot. You can make your own master plates, like I said, if you have a rotary cutter and a motor. It's not my thing, so I'm just going to have other people do it. You can use the rotary to cut. If you have these master plates and then you set it all up, you can cut into plastic. So you're going to use, you know, let's say you're going to do a nice plate for somebody that did something nice. You can, you know, have multiple lines of lettering, etc. And once it's set up, it's quite easy to use. It's just the setup that's difficult. The cons are master plates for images. You have to find somebody that can do it for you, unless you know how to do this way better than me and you care. But I don't, so I'll find somebody that has the right cutter and does master plates for these pantographs. And they're out there. I got a guy making me a real pretty scroll work right now. Master plates for fonts, so you can get master plates for imagery, you can get master plates for fonts, but they are difficult to find, and I had to buy 3 sets of fonts from different people to get one good set. So, you know, sometimes they're expensive too, like $50 for a partial set. So it's kind of a con. Size matters. You can see this is a fairly large master plate, and it doesn't fit my tray. Also, the size of the plate, the size of the font, can only be reduced by what I have on my machine. So from, I don't know what this is, 2 inches, I could maybe go down to ½ an inch. I'm not sure because I never tried it, but you know, and I want to go down to 1/8 of an inch, so this plate won't work. It not only won't fit on my machine, but it doesn't go small enough for the font that I want to use. Now, if I want to do a bigger font than ½ an inch, I can't use those smaller 1 inches because mine will only do reduction by half. And this is those are too small to get a bigger font. So then I would use these larger plates. So size does matter. Setting up takes a while depending on the complexity, your experience, if you make a lot of notes. I have a binder that I built now for this so that I can go through and know what settings on my arms do what, and the angular setup, and which of my fonts do what, and I have pictures and things. So it really helps me in my setup to come back to it. So that's a pantograph. That's what I can tell you for now. I've done a lot of it on my knives. I really like it a lot. There isn't anything better in my mind. The only tough part for me is getting some of the custom master plates that I want, like crossed arrows and the Special Forces unit crest and stuff like that. You have to go find somebody that can build that for you. But once you get it, you just keep using it over and over and over. So it's wonderful. So this is Jeff Conte, your YouTube knife mentor. This is your what I can tell you about pantographs and why I like them and what are the difficulties about them. I hope this was useful to you. Please leave comments or questions if you have any. As always, I want you to go out and have fun making a knife.